affirmations and mantras, right? Like in my head, like, I'm already there. I'm already have accomplished where I'm going. So these all build a lot of confidence and character within your own mind to achieve what you need to achieve by just belief in whatever you want to do. So between those things, those two, it's really important. Start with yourself, and then, there's always just a few people you can branch out to, but keeping the circle small and those that could really help you to get to the next level. And I say circle small because it gets too big. And then I start getting people who are naysayers and people who, they may say believe in you on the front end, but on the back end, they're really trying to take you down. So it's really, you don't need a lot of people, and just really concentrate on you and those people that can help you.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Masters of the Game. This is Matt Phillips, excited to be with you today. And today I get to have another very special guest, a gentleman that I connected with, on LinkedIn, I think about a month or so ago, and had an initial phone conversation, hit it off, and I knew I had to have him on the interview series today. And so today, here in a minute, I'm going to introduce you to John Bronson. Now, for you Penn State Nittany Lion fans, you will know this man. He played tight end for you. He also played defensive end for you, which we're going to get into, and I have questions about as well. And he was fortunate to play in the NFL as well. He actually entered the league as an undrafted rookie free agent with the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, had a knee injury that cut his NFL career short. But here's what's fascinating. This family is gifted from a sports perspective. So not only did John get to play at Penn State in the NFL, but his brothers as well, Demetrius and Josiah, the Seattle Seahawks, Dallas Cowboys, I believe New Orleans Saints now, that playing in the NFL as well. So after John was done playing, just to give you some insight into what he's doing now, he actually founded a Stroop waffle. I'm probably saying and butchering it now, but like a Dutch waffle company. He's now into concussion awareness and prevention that we're going to dive into a little bit today. But without further ado, John, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you.
Matt, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
This is awesome. Well, I always start the interviews with this, but what's one of the greatest memories you have from your playing days, either at NFL or college or high school? Like, what are some of those memories?
Man, there's so many. I can tell you that. I mean, just throughout high school, college, or pro. So maybe I'll give you one of each. How about that? Start high school, just to kind of set it off there. So, I think one of the greatest memories, actually, in high school, I went to high school called camaraderie in high school. Shout out to the Royals.
Yep.
In Kent, Washington. And, on paper, we actually weren't that good of a team. But what was very fascinating about us in our years is a lot of great players who come through there. Myself and that's one of my good buddies who also went to play for the Rams, and Brian Howard, and a ton of great guys that went to the University of Washington and Washington State, Demetrius Lloyd, et cetera. But so one of my greatest memories, honestly, is just the camaraderie. I know it sounds like very boring, and there was a point in time in high school we could have broken up. There was some other schools that were dragging people, inclusive myself, wanted to go to other schools to kind of build these super teams.
Yep.
We could easily, and I almost did, I'll be honest. I almost did. But we decided to stick together and as a team and go out our senior year as it did. So that to me was a great moment, just in itself. So
yes.
Now in college, man, there's a lot. I mean, I know it's supposed to be like a one sentence answer, but I'll just give you a few. So I played defensive end, as you mentioned, and I played a lot of greats there. Guys like Michael Haynes and Tamba Ali. These are, guys who were first rounders. Jimmy Kennedy, Anthony Adams, formerly known as Spice. If you've seen him he's like this, sensation now on
yes.
the internet. And, just being in that locker room was just like, it was incredible being with those guys and being able to play with them, learn from them. And obviously, with the coaches, Joe Paterno and Larry Johnson. So, look, I can go on and on about like the greatest moments, but I think just the camaraderie again there. NFL. Arizona Cardinals. Same but different. I think there was just, uh, the opportunity to be able to learn not just about football, but life with some of the greatest players you'll ever play with: Larry Fitzgerald, Kurt Warner, even Coach Diddy Green. And what I took away, just being a player that wasn't very to play a lot, and I'll get to that, is, there was more to football, and this kind of propelled me to a lot of things I'm doing. So I think that takeaway there from a pro angle was, I learned a lot of leverage, not just in sport, but, the afterlife that helped me to my future life. So
Absolutely.
a little longer than you asked for.
Well, and I think I think camaraderie is underestimated, right? Of like just the memories you simply in the locker room, right? That you gain in the conversations, and even in high school, going to battle together and deciding not to go, and then I don't know, you have like just a different season when that happens. So I love all those, right? But I'm curious, how did a kid from Washington end up at Penn State? Because that's a distance, right? That you're traveling. But how did you get to Penn State from where you were at?
Yeah, so I went out to Penn State on a camp, and I'll get to that real quick. So I was just, when I was younger and did a pay for, I got some help from my family and et cetera, but also worked. I worked at McDonald's and Chuck E. Cheese. For those Chuck E. Cheese, that's a little place to make with the mouse and and et cetera. So that's how I paid, got stuff paid for. So it was camp time, sophomore, junior year, and I remember vividly this, and I had to pair that up with school and teachers and et cetera. And I still wanted to go to Kansas State camp, but it didn't fare well with my timing of classes, and one of my teachers wouldn't let me out of the test or something. So then, then Penn State came along, so I did some research. Penn State fit the scheduling. I was like, I didn't really know a lot about Penn State at this time, believe it or not. To your point, kid from Washington.
Yep.
We don't get a lot of that, those games over in the Northwest. And I just went on the flyer. It fit the budget, and it fit there. Then I went out there and I loved it. And obviously I ended up having a phenomenal camp. Ended up being one of the top guys, top tight ends there. And they offered, before I got home, my parents actually knew before I got back home to Seattle that Penn State had offered me. And so they had made the secret. And so when I got home, it was like this big surprise that Penn State had offered me for, right? So, yeah, it's like, man, it was a whirlwind of time. I couldn't believe it. And of course, from there, when Penn State offers you, now everybody wants to start offering you. So then, so you can imagine how that went, once Penn State started to offer.
That's amazing. Well, and I always I'm curious your opinion on this, because there's a lot of kids, athletes watching this right now that maybe at the high school level, collegiate level, even professionals, right? But they have this aspiration to get to that next level. Mm-hmm. And you are fortunate to get that, go to that camp and put yourself out there and go to work and pay for it yourself to get out to that Penn State camp. What does it take, in your opinion? What made you stand out and be different to get that look versus others? Was there something you were doing, or just your size, or a combination thereof? What was it?
Everything. I was doing everything. I think I remember at camp, and look, before I'll go to camp, I'll circle back. But even at camp, I remember I was playing safety. Of course, I probably know I was going to be a safety, at the next level, or at least, but in my mind, I could play anywhere. Put me as a receiver, wherever you need. There was a statement in the pros, and I'm sure in college too, the more you can do, right? And so, hey, look, somebody want to line up, or they was too good for a lineup. Okay, I'll get in there. I don't care if I was playing corner, right? And the point is that at that level, coaches want to see, your willingness, your versatility, your how you respond to things, how you're going to interact with people. So for me, it was just the more I could do, and I was just by nature, my personality, and maybe it also helped them coming from, it was a lot of jokes because nobody knew where Washington was. Seattle. Like, it was this kid from Seattle. Like,
Right.
they recruit over, like, kind of like, do they recruit over there? Like, they got football players over there, right? And like, or whatever. And so, I'm sure a little bit of that also helped in terms of just turning up the heat a little bit. But just, being consistent and persistent and doing everything you can do at every moment, because you never know who was watching. And for me, had zero expectations. I just for sure didn't expect to get offered a full ride, 3 days after arriving there, or 4 days after arriving there. And I think that's the message. Just really just put all your efforts into it. And that's what I try to tell kids these days. You got to be different, be the best, but in order to get the best, you gotta to just do everything you possibly can to stand out.
And I love that message. I think, in interviewing a number of different individuals like NFL and major leagues and all these different sports, right, and Olympians, you kind of hear that theme a little bit, right? Of you have to be willing to put in the work, be different, do what others aren't willing to do, and in a lot of cases, be bold, right? To your point of like, if there's an open opportunity, it's like throw your hand up and say, well, yeah, I'll step in, and it might be for a play, but that's okay.
Right. And it may not be maybe wrong position, right? Like I said, I'm sure I line up the corner. I was never going to be a college corner, but that wasn't the point. The point is that those coaches saw the look. But it was a receiver that needed a 1-on-1, and I'm sure I probably got burnt, but that wasn't the point. The point is that I was willing to do what it took just to stay on the field.
Yes.
So I say that, but it all starts also mental. I say that even before the physical, it starts mental, and like the mentality of just of wanting to be as great as you can, wanting to be great. And like I said, from my childhood growing up, I had a lot of learning lessons, and I had a lot of people in my corner who help to install that part of from a mental standpoint. As low as working at Chuck E. Cheese and at McDonald's, right? Those are learning lessons. How to work, right? Flipping burgers and flipping fries and pizzas was a learning lesson, believe it or not, that helped me for other areas as I got older. And so what it did, it took me being humble as well, which I took that humbleness to Penn State and so on and so forth. And all these things kind of merged together, from a mentality standpoint to, physical standpoint.
Yes.
Everybody got a lot of people were physical. It's just the mental part that really separates.
So I want to press on this a little bit because, one of the things that's popped in my head is, and this is something I struggled with. I talked to a lot of athletes. At some point, our confidence is tested, right? And it might be going to that next level. It might be a certain game that we're playing against, like a different, high school or college or pro team. It might be a certain person we're going up against, right? It could be all these different things. It could be somebody's, John at us, and and how do we handle that and stuff like that. So for you, as you look at your career, like ever have your confidence kind of tested where you were like, I'm just not feeling like that as confident as I maybe should be today? And if so, like, how did you work through that? Because I talk to athletes a lot about, like, you're standing on a major league mound or you're walking into a big game, like your confidence is going to be shaken at some point. Like that's natural. It's normal. It's okay. It's how you react and what you do. So how did you kind of deal with any confidence issues that you had? How did you work through that mentally? Because that's a mental thing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I would say is kind of keeping the right circle, and then within that, keeping your circle small, because those people that you have in that circle can help you build, right? And they can see, like, if you're weak, they can help you. Hey Matt, and I see it slipping today. I know how you feel, but it's time to go. Let's get together. What can I do to help you get to the next level? ... So those people that can know you, whether it's a friend or it's a family member or it's a coach or whatever. However it shakes out, those people can help you adjust and help you build your confidence. Because you're right, we all fall down and slip it at times, right? And then from there, it's also just it's belief. So it's also can start inside, right? It's a mentality. Like, for me, I try to, of course, I've gotten more into it probably after football, but just having these positive, affirmations and mantras, right? Like in my head, like, I'm already there. I'm already have accomplished where I'm going. So these all build a lot of confidence and character
Yes.
within your own mind to achieve what you need to achieve by just belief and the things that belief in whatever you want to do. So between those things, those two, it's really important. Start with yourself, and then there's always a few people you can branch out to, but keeping the circle small and those that can really help you to get to the next level. And I say start with small because it gets too big, and then I start getting people who are naysayers and people who they may say believe in you on the front end, but on the back end they're really trying to take you down. So it's really, you don't need a lot of people, and just really concentrate on you and those people that can help you build yourself.
I love both those. I think to your point, that inner circle, it sounds funny when I'm working with athletes, and this is true. We have 3 kids and things like that. And when kids approach me, or my kids approach me, and they use the words, like this hockey player came up to me probably a month ago. He's like, "Coach, I'm not feeling confident as well, like at all right now." And to be part of that circle, right? And I get to help him, to your point of like the comfort level of saying that and the courage it takes to say, like, I'm not feeling it right now, to someone you trust is massive, because people want to help, right? So I think you're bang on with that. And I love the affirmation piece too, because I think we discount that a lot of, like, what, I got to tell myself I'm great. It's like, yeah, you got to tell yourself you're great. Like, you've done it before, do it again. Like, you should be being like, I'm amazing, I'm incredible. You're not making t-shirts. Like, we don't have to be cocky about it, but man, inside we better be firing ourselves up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, you don't have to go around, with t-shirts on, say, hey, that's what you want to, you just go good too. But right. it's a mental direction that really helps to stay focused and build your inner confidence. I mean, there's a lot of great people who in theory use a similar model that have done a lot of great things, and it's relatively the same direction of kind of what I'm saying, and that really makes a huge difference in to your confidence to press forward and to have the best version of what you're looking to accomplish.
Yep. Such a key point for you athletes listening and coaches, like, to instill that in your players is massive. What was the biggest challenge in transitioning from high school to Penn State? And then I'll ask the same question from Penn State to the NFL.
Yeah, I just think it was the speed, for sure. The speed from high school to college. I mean, everything was faster, and not just even the football aspect, but even in now that you're basically a grown adult. I mean, there's no mom and dad at home. You're not going home, right? You're on your own. So everything is on you, from academia, from sport, from, it could be the small things. So, and then I think the responsibility, and you had to learn that quick, right? Speed and responsibility. One, being on time. There was no alarm clocks for mom waking up,
Yes.
Teachers were going to call you, or coaches were going to call you and say, hey, I don't see you in class today, or you're not at practice, where are you, right? They just, in theory, move on, right? And a certain aspect. But I think all of that was a great setup, because what it did was teach a lot of discipline. And at Penn State, I mean, you take that to another level. Look, I mean, Penn State was just, shy below Ivy League from a academia level. And then, everybody's familiar with the Joe Pa football ways. It was very straightforward, very stern, very military-like ways, which is all great. So there was not a lot of room for error. So, but that all helped to shape a lot as a person, as a man, but also as a football player, and obviously as a student, to be the best version. Yeah. But I just, at the same time, I also seen it go the other way, and people didn't last a semester, right? Because they could not keep up the pace with the speed of how things were transcending, and they got left behind. And before you know it, a locker was empty. Yeah, so for Penn State, it was definitely that. And then I would say from college to pro, I don't think it was as much as speed because it's generally the same, right?
Yep.
I think there it was just, it's the business aspect, right? So now we're transitioning from, all right, in college, you may have a bad play or two or miss a class or two. You're not going to get kicked off, for lack of better words.
Yes.
You do that in the pros, and you have a bad player or two, you can find a Grim Reaper the next Tuesday, packing your bags and you're out the door. And so I think understanding that in the pros, it's all business. And also in the pros, you're on a team. Oh, it says you're on a team, but you're an independent contractor, right? So it's like, we're all in the same group, but we work for ourselves. So I like you that we're on the same group, but at the same time, I need to make sure I perform better than you are, because at the end of the day, it could be me or you on who sticks around from the group. So it's one of these parallels that people really sometimes don't get, especially, in my opinion, kids these days, like, don't get sucked into the, I made a team. Yeah, you made the team, but you're still an independent contractor. And that same person that you're bunking with on the away game or whatever, could very well be that person that takes your spot, right? Or vice versa, you take their spot, for years to come. So understand the business aspect to professional sports is a huge thing. And it's even more magnified now than even, 20 years ago. Jeez, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you think, so take the, business aspect, it's end of the day, you own your performance, not the coach, not the school, not the professional team, not the GM, like all that sort of stuff. End of the day, you own your performance, right? And you have to have a mentality of, I'm going to go on and expect greatness. I'm going to go after greatness. And whether you're high school, collegiate, or pro athlete, you have to have that mentality. Did I say that correctly based on what you said, or just a different twist?
Absolutely. There's a little bit of caveat. I'll start pro down. So at Arizona, for me in particular, one thing I understood where I was. I was an undrafted free agent. That meant that I was more expendable than, let's say, Larry Fitzgerald, right? He came in the year after it, or like Brian Johnson, the guy I went to school with in sales, right? These guys went first rounders. So if they were to make a bad play, or they took time off, or just had a mental error, which you never saw, right? Very much. The likelihood of them being on the child blocks is very low, right?
Yes.
If I did the same or do the likelihood is very high. So you got to know where you are as a player. Like if you're a free agent and you can't do first round things, right? You can't make the same mistakes as a first rounder or a second rounder because you're not the same player. That's just the reality, right? Players get sucked up into that, especially when they first get into the league. So I understood that, so much so that I never forget. We was in practice in my rookie year, and I don't know, maybe it was like a Wednesday, so it's kind of like half pads back then, and like it's not full go, but it's still get a little tough, and so maybe I was going a little bit extra. And for me, a guy named Pedro Wilson, very one of the best safeties I've ever seen in my life. Played against for sure. Played with. But I remember, we was in practice one day, and I may have bumped a little hard, and he said, "Hey, take it easy over there." I said, I pulled him aside. I didn't get loud or anything. I said, "Look, maybe I probably said, A-Dub, like, look, you gotta understand, man, like, I'm not where you are. So if I'm going a little bit harder, no pun intended, it's because I got to make sure that those owners and coaches on the sideline see that I'm giving all my best effort. You straight. So you can take it down a few notches, and you're a V here. I just got here, so I got to make a name." And he understood. We agreed to disagree, to disagree, and et cetera. And away we went. But what it was a conversation of him understanding where I was, right? And I wasn't just doing this to be, try to take them out. It was, look, I got to make sure that they understand that I'm giving my 110% so I can make the team, right? So you got to know where you are. That's what I always say for players, and you can't just do the same things. And that's not just on the field, but that's off the field too, right? That's financially. You can't go buy a bin, or bins because the first rounder got a bins when you just got minimum salary. It doesn't equal. It doesn't add up. So there's just things in parallels that I always suggest that just you got to understand where you are in that moment and make the best use of it to excel, to get to those better moments.
Yes. Well, and this is interesting because so with that could come pressure, right? This pressure to perform, and every athlete feels it. I mean, I was a baseball guy, right? So I'm standing up at the plate and, trying to get a hit. And there's certain situations where you're like, man, this is a big deal, right? End of the game and bases loaded, all that sort of stuff. But every day, like we're felt like dealing with pressure, right? You go off to, Penn State, you're playing in front of a heck of a lot of people. You go to NFL, you're playing in front of a heck of a lot of people. The famous Penn State whiteouts, right? That we watch and enjoy, even from Denver, Colorado here. So there's like that pressure that can come and can be overwhelming at times, even just earning playing time, right? Making a team. How did you balance like that perceived pressure or that real pressure of like playing in front of people and just making a team? How did you balance that just to make sure we stay level headed with like, okay, I'm doing the things, taking the action. Like, how did you balance that?
Yeah. I mean, look, for me, it's in college, Penn State, I was probably lucky enough where I had a lot of older guys. Like I was the youngest, started on the D line. There was all three seniors that year, 2002, they had two first rounders and a second rounder, right? And I was the one left behind. I was a sophomore at that time. And so for me, it was just being able to mirror what they did, right? And even look, it was some cases I was good over. I remember Jimmy Kennedy and Mike Hale looking what they're eating. They're like, it sounds super, whatever. Like, what these guys eating? I was learning small tips, right, on how to on eating habits or what they do outside of football, so I can be as great as I did. Now, I didn't always implement everything, but at least I got an understanding there. So that also helped me to kind of be humble and to just learn how to take in all of that, because Penn State, as you alluded to, and a lot of universities like Penn State, whale, or the league, the NFL has nothing on it from a fan perspective, and from a how many people in the stands. Like, I mean, 110, 111,000.
Yes.
I mean, you'll never see that unless you play soccer, some soccer field like, in Mexico or somewhere like that. Like, maybe we did back in 2005, by the way. But so that's basically where I got lucky, and I say a lot of my foundation with, and that saying, and I think I mentioned this story before, but one of the things that really humbled me, and this is a story that carried me even through my life after football, was 2002. I was having a great year. We were having a great year, and I think we're playing like Iowa or somebody, and I came off of I thought it was a really good game. I had like 9 tackles, a sack, and some other couple of TFLs and et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the next week we come into the building, we come into the office, and I'm on the second team. And so, of course, at this point, you can imagine my confidence is really high. Like, I'm like, feeling pretty good. And I'm on the second team. And so I didn't really make an outburst at the time to understand why I was on second team to Coach Jay. But after the meeting, I said, hey, why I'm on second team? And he said, because you're getting too complacent. At the time, I didn't even know what the word complacent was. So I said, well, what's complacent? He said, you're being comfortable where you are. I said, huh. So I let that simmer, and of course, we went through the week, and I was in second team and et cetera. And, but by the next week, you better believe, like, I was back out starting again. But the lesson that taught me was that here I got removed, not because I'm expecting, more praise, right?
Yes.
And I had a great grade. My grade was an A. It was nothing wrong with my performance. It was, he saw that like, oh, let me humble him real quick, move him down, right? And so he doesn't take this praise and, I don't know, and like he gets too exuberant or whatever his thought process was as a coach, right?
Yes.
But he saw something there that I needed to get humbled with, move me down to second team, make me work my way back up to first team. And lo and behold, this is a lesson that I learned throughout, that I keep throughout my entire life of just not feeling complacent, right, for anything. And so that's probably the biggest learned lesson I've ever had from Coach Johnson was when he removed me from first team and put me on second team after a great game, and something that I definitely I've shared for the rest of my life. And real quick, and I take that because everything I said related to the college aspect, for me it was different in the pro. There wasn't like these older guys that were in a tight end room. It was it was two rookies, me and Adam Bergen and Eric Edwards, the guy was second year. So we were all looking at each other for advice how to get pro. We all just got there. So I think to answer your question, I got long-winded, is just, I really believe, who's in the room, like people you surround yourself with, it makes the biggest difference into how your succession is on any level.
It's so good. Because at every level you're talking about, right? It's like if I'm in high school and I'm a freshman, it's like, how do I find that senior to learn how to be that we have respect for, right? That we look up to, but how do we learn from that person and just watch their habits, right? Of the way they work and all those things. Same at college, same at professional level, same in business when you get a job someday, as an entrepreneur, like whatever you happen to do as a parent, right? It's finding like parents you emulate that you want to emulate and learn from them and implement some of that stuff. I think it's such a huge piece to it. And I love your story about having a great game, taking from first team to second team because of complacency, of like just getting comfortable with that. Because I think it's, you and I talked a little about this, but that there's activities that you need to do, that you should do, that if you choose to do them, nobody else is willing to do them, right? And so that's what separates you from others, right? So just that lesson you learned of like, no, you need to up the game, right? You need to start doing or keep doing the things that are making you successful. Get back to that. I mean, that's what that coach is telling you. Get back to that and you'll be fine, but get back to that, for goodness sake. That's what made you successful in the first place. And I think that's so important. I can't remember. I think I asked you this maybe I held off this question because our initial phone call, and for everybody listening, I always do an initial phone call just to say hey and chat people up. And I always get off those calls and I'm like, man, I should have just recorded the darn phone call. And it's gold. But I think the question I have is, if that situation being put down on the second team, that could derail a lot of people, right? We could have that emotional reaction, get really frustrated, take our foot off the gas. You chose to let that process and simmer, like you said, and then you decided to do something like positive with it and like start taking the action and stuff. What made you just go forward instead of backwards? Was it just that choice you made, or the people in the inner circle that you were just like, oh yeah, he's just trying to like get me back to where I need to be? Like, what was that mentally like for you, where it could derail a lot of athletes, honestly?
You're right. I think for Coach Jay, since he's the one who in theory made the call, I think it was part of the experiment, right? To your point, I could have folded and cried in the car or whatever and just said, screw this, and went home, whatever, right? Or whatever the case is, right? Yes. These days, the kid with a transfer or whatever, that's right, making a joke. But I think that was part of the experiment. And I think it was twofold. One, and I remember Mike Haynes, he was the guy who went first round to the Bears. That I looked, he played the other end. And I remember him saying, like, he would just make subtle comments like, come on, let's go. Like, it wasn't even any downtime. Like, even like, I mean, of course, it was clear I was 16, but like, it was like more of a mental, like, come on, let's go. Like, you ain't got time, to be So I've been like, to get where back where we need to be to do that. So part of that was the circle, right? Those guys who have probably had done this, had also kind of dealt with them right earlier, probably in their careers, before I got there, right? And then the other side was just what I said earlier. It's just the built-in confidence, right? Match with that, just knowing the look. I got there once, I can get there again. So, and everybody, unfortunately, whether you're on my team, you're an enemy, even my own roommate, which was technically my backup, best friends to this day. But one of my bestest friends to this day, but he also was my enemy for that time frame. Right? So I think, again, for me at that time, was just looking at it in parallel. Like I just had this mentality where I wouldn't like take no for an answer. And it's part of what got me to Penn State. I just bear down it and really just went after it. And I didn't, at all costs, or whatever walls I had to break through to get there, like I was going to get there. And that's, I don't know how else to say it really. It's more of a feeling like than anything. Like I'm getting chills.
Well, you think about it, right? In the short time we've been talking, right, is the work ethic of like working at McDonald's, at Chuck E. Cheese. I'm so glad I don't have to go to that place anymore, by the way, side note, but my kids are old enough, but paying your way to go to this Penn State camp, like that, it's not, we can't just gloss over that of like, I went to a Penn State camp. You paid to go to a Penn State camp. Yeah. And you made it happen. You chose to go there. And you said even there, when you were there, like you had no expectation, right? You were there just to work and do your thing. And like, there was no expectation of like, I'm after a scholarship and I want a full ride. And like, it was just, I'm there to just show my stuff, right? And probably enjoy it along the way. And the ability or just the boldness to dream about like the possibility, right? Of like, that's the reason you probably went to those camps, to see what it's like. And I mean, there's so many things baked in there, right? And then just the other piece I'll say, I want everyone to just really understand is like that confidence of like, you said it, I've got there before, I can do it again, right? That ability to look back and be like, I've done it before, I can do it again. I've done it before, I can do it again. The situation's different. It's uniforms are different. The level's different, but it's like, I've been successful in the past. I'm going to be successful in the future. And that's where one of the pieces of where that confidence comes from, of like, you've been there, you've done it, you've done something similar, like leverage that.
I've always been this believer, I think, and I never kind of said it for a long time, never said it verbally, but it was just a belief that I always believe if you help yourself, you'll get help. That could be in some people's universe, some people's gods, some people, it's other people, whatever it is, you will get other help. And even back during that whole recruiting time, I mean, this is, years ago, but I was writing letters to, sending, tapes, to people just before all of that, right? Early, just so they can see that there was the kid in Washington. Now you get all the, the fancy softwares and et cetera do it for you, but sometimes it's also a handicap because what happens is you don't stand out. Well, my tapes, this stands out, has my name written on, it's different times these days, written on it right there. It's a V, you got to put it in and you follow up. Like it's literally a business back then. Right. And you may get some no's. I got a lot of no's, right? Got a lot of no's. And then you get some yeses, but then you get help. Right. And then like, a camp like Penn State and with some other camps that helps. Oh, then the Penn State name comes. Everybody wants to talk, right? So, and it's just, the more you help yourself at anything, the more help you can receive. And I just think that's kind of like a universal thing that just it just happens. So
you're 100% right. And I think one of the, here's a secret to success these days, everybody listening. If you want to stand out, still do the electronic stuff, like use the systems, but like write a letter or type a letter and mail it, physically mail it. The physical mail is the shock and awe of 2024 about to be 2025. It's shocking. It's like, oh my God, somebody sent me something in the mail. It's like, yes, Amazon's here again. Woo.
Exactly. I got to give you this story on that. It's very important. So my brother, so my middle brother, Demetrius, he played for the Seahawks, but he went to undergrad at University of Washington, Eastern Washington. He finished career, spent 2 years. So at Eastern Washington, his time was up, and then, they had a pro day and everything. So I remember I was long done by then, so I had time to help and et cetera. I said, look, you want to stand out? Let's make a business card. On the front side, it's going to have your information, your name, phone number, email, everything, how to contact you. Back of it, you're going to put little 40 bench, all these things so you can actually put your numbers in. And and a picture. Don't forget the picture on the business card. We're going to make them. So I helped him do all this. So at Pro Day, literally every scout got a business card. Bam, 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 bam. Right. Of course, he had to show out. He did. So now matches the card, right? Yes. Why would it make sense to do that? These coaches are going from school to school to school to school. They'll probably hit 5 schools in the next 2 days in Washington. UW, Washington State, bigger schools too, right? Some smaller. They're not going to remember every kid. They're going to remember some that stand out, but they will not lose the business card that ends up in the binder or in the book or whatever. So obviously you could say it somewhere it worked in some case because he ended up getting to the Seahawks and making the Seahawks. But the point I'm trying to say is what you're saying is how to stand out. And that is the message here. Be different, stand out. And those who do that are those who flourish. And you don't always have to be the fastest or et cetera, have the most catches or the most sacks or this. It's those that stand out, who's most consistent. And coaches will certainly take those who are consistent and have a work ethic that they believe that they can trust this person for years to come. Versus just being fast and versus just being, strong or et cetera. So, yeah.
Love that. That's so good. All right. I hope everybody's taking notes. I hope you are all taking notes. If not, go back and watch this and get out your pen and paper or type it in your phone. This is awesome. All right. Last question, John, because I want to be cognizant of your time here. If people want to connect with you, again, we didn't have time to get in the concussion kind of awareness and prevention you're doing now, things like that. But how can they best, connect with you and, chat you up and learn about concussion stuff, but just learn about your kind of path?
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick. Yeah. To your point, we built a real-time concussion detector and for a lot of athletes and military. And basically within 15 minutes, we can detect a concussion using saliva. So it's a little device, and that's really, you can use on the sidelines or at home, et cetera, point of care. So you can find us. You can learn more about us. I'm very active on LinkedIn, as we've talked about there. John Bronson, you can just, search me there. Or I'm on Instagram and, Facebook and all those good things. Same word deal, John Bronson, but mostly active on LinkedIn. You want to learn about what we're doing at Conan MedTech, our real-time concussion detector. So ConanMedTech.com. And they can learn more. And if you want to find me there, shoot me an email or love to connect.
That's awesome. And we'll put all the links in the show notes as well, just so people can go check it out. And I highly encourage you to go connect with John. And there's some really innovative things happening, especially on the concussion front, and that is critical. And as you heard today, right, it's taken these just gold nuggets that John laid out, right? And he's laid out this little path for you of what it takes to get to that next level and just be successful, not only in sports, but in life, right? It doesn't matter if you're a football player or not, but just in life or every sport you're playing. And I encourage you to take one of these things, just take one and utilize it for your sport, school, coach, as a coach, like whatever point of life that you're at, please use one of these things. So John, I know we'll stay on for a minute here afterwards, but I can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time with me and with the audience today. It's just so fun to chat about this stuff.
That was a pleasure.
So for everyone, please like, share with your family, friends, with your teammates, with your entire team. so that you can spread the word about John and the lessons learned today. Thank you all so much for being part of Masters of the Game interview series, and we'll see you on the next interview.